Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norse Witch, and this week's video is a beginner's guide to Protection Magic. Patron shout-out time! Thank you really much to the lunar botanists Soren, Braden, Diego, Bethany, Hannah, Tel, Timothy, Bjorn, Scylla, Ash, Lucy, and Joss. And now let's hop into the video. First of all, let's just ignore this sad palm tree behind me. She's sitting right next to the heater and she's not loving it. So she is very sad at the moment. I hope I'll be able to revive her. She's still alive, but yeah, some leaves are just dead. But this video is not about plants, it's about protection magic, so let's get into that. I get asked a lot on where to start with protection magic, what spells I use personally for my protection magic, like just very beginner level questions from people who apparently don't really know where to start, like at all. So this is hopefully the response to that question. Hopefully I will give all the beginners out there some ideas on where to start. So yeah, as I said, this video is targeted for beginners, but I will give, I guess a lot of ideas on how you could start with protection magic in the end of the video, so maybe there will also be some ideas for more advanced practitioners too. We can always revisit the basics. And yeah, I'm just one practitioner, so this video will definitely not include all the ways of casting protection magic there is. I will just give you some ideas that I came up with and some things that I personally also really like to use. So first of all, some general information about protection magic. What the heck is protection magic? The word already says a lot. Protection magic is magic that's supposed to protect you from something, or protect something else or someone else from something. It's a very vague idea, let's just say that. It's an umbrella term for a lot of things. As I said, with protection magic you can protect various different things or people. You could, for example, protect yourself, your aura, your energy field. You could protect someone else or their aura, their energy, but you could also protect spaces. For example, you could cast a protection spell to protect your whole house or your apartment or just a single room. You could also cast a protection spell to protect only your altar, for example. There's really nothing you can not do, in my opinion. You can basically cast a protection spell for anything. But I think the most used and most important types of protection magic will probably be personal warding and shielding, so protecting yourself and your aura, and protecting a house or an apartment, a room, so your home area. There are also different ways in which you can put up protection. So for example, I see quite a lot of differentiation between a ward and a shield, or warding and shielding. For example, I have recently read the differentiation between warding and shielding as shielding being a protection for yourself, and it will be a protective barrier that also draws from your own energy. Whereas a ward would be a protective barrier that is tied to an object. So for example, you have a crystal, for example, and to that crystal you would tie a ward, and it would also draw energy from that object. But that is just one definition. I don't really differentiate that much between warding and shielding, and yeah, for me it's just all protection magic. And you should generally think about what you want to protect, how you want the protection to be set up, and also from what you want to protect. Because yes, you could basically just cast a protection spell with the intention of protection, but I think that is far too vague, because what do you want to protect? How should the ward or shield or whatever be set up? Where should it draw energy from? and what should it protect you from. You could cast a protection spell that should protect you from all entities. You could cast a protection spell that only protects you from malicious entities. There could also be a protection spell that is supposed to protect you from the energy of other people. It kind of blocks it off. You could also cast a protection spell that's supposed to protect you from hexes and curses that are cast on you. There's just a lot that you could protect yourself from. So just make sure that you're very specific with what you want to protect yourself from. And if you, for example, cast a shield or a ward that should protect you from various specific kinds of energies, make sure you don't block off every kind of energy. Don't just cast a protection spell saying like, I want to be protected from everything, or I want to keep out everything. Because of course that will also keep out just neutral types of energy and also positive kinds of energy and entities. So yeah, I'm rambling about it a lot. Just be very specific. What do you want to protect yourself from? What do you want to let into your ward or shield? What is the ward or shield supposed to draw its energy from? What should it protect? Etc, etc. There are a lot of questions that you can ask yourself. And depending on this intention, the specific intention, the protection spell will definitely work a lot differently. So yeah, think about it before you cast the spell. And to give you some correspondences with which you could work for a protection spell, these are of course only the ones that I personally work with. I really like to work with the elements of earth and fire for protection magic, depending on the kind of protection that I want, because earth would of course be a little bit more passive and more like nurturing, whereas fire is a lot more offensive. Because I mean, yeah, of course you can also cast a protection spell that's supposed to be like offensive, active protection. That would be a lot like the Thurisas rune. I always envision it like that. And planets I like to work with for protection would be Saturn and Mars. But yes, I will say it again, of course these are only my personal correspondences. I bet a lot of other people will work with others. There are a lot that you could work with. I could also see maybe a protection spell working with Venus energy, for example. So now let us get into some spell ideas for protection magic. I will start with just personal protection, so wards or shields that you could cast to protect yourself or maybe another person. And then I will go into protection spells for your home. So the first thing that I personally really love to do, and that is just very essential to me when it comes to personal protection spells, is just setting up energetic wards or shields, depending on your definition of a ward and a shield. I will just call everything a ward from now on because easier. So yeah, setting up a personal ward energetically, that is something that I do pretty regularly and that should be done very regularly because it's very basic. That's also why I wanted to get into it this one first, because I think it's really, really easy. I guess it could be a little bit more difficult for people who can't visualize, but you can also do it without visualization. Just find your own way of doing things. The basic idea is that while you are meditating, so you get into a meditative state of consciousness, you visualize or feel, or however you like to manipulate energy. I will just go with visualization, but I also personally feel it a lot, so for me it's a combination of those two. You would visualize, yeah, some kind of ward around yourself that could look a lot different depending on the person. So it could be maybe just a glass bubble, it could be made from diamonds or crystals, it could be made from bricks, it could, I don't know, it could even be a brick wall around yourself, it could be a ball of fire, it could be a ball of plants, thorns, something like that. Just see what comes up for you and what kind of makes sense with the intention of your ward. So for example, if you would want to have a ward that's supposed to let positive and neutral energies in, which would make sense as a personal ward or shield, because you don't want to block yourself off of any type of energy. That would really quickly drain you from energy and yeah, not a good idea. So probably a brick wall, for example, or like a ball of metal or something like that would not be the best choice. So for example, what I like to do is either visualize a net, kind of a net of fire, so that some stuff can come through, some energy can come through, but the energy that I want to keep out can come in. Or you could also, go with kind of, a bubble and just visualize positive or neutral energies coming in and others being held out. You could also combine that with visualizing it as a mirror, so that this ward that you put up around yourself also mirrors back any negative energy that's sent your way. So if someone curses or hexes you or just sends some negative energy your way, this ward or shield could just directly mirror it back to them. That's just your personal choice. Just think of, as I said, what you want your ward or shield to do, and then pick the kind of barrier that you want to put up. As I said, this should be done really regularly. So in the beginning, if it's a completely new ward, I would do it daily. It can be done really, really quickly. It's a matter of like 5 minutes. Yeah, I personally try to do it once a week. As soon as the ward is properly set up, I do it maybe once a week. So that this ward is just kept up. That is for me personally the easiest way of creating a personal ward, and it is really handy because you can, in a situation where you feel like you need some extra protection, you can just quickly put it up like even more. You can kind of strengthen it even more, and that has proven very, very helpful to me in some situations. So yeah, that is for me personally the easiest way to protect yourself. And you don't need any tools for that. Great! Cheap magic. Another really easy idea would be even some kind of glamour magic. Just putting the intention of the kind of protection you want into your daily moisturizer, into your makeup, into clothes, like something that you put on daily, and to just visualize or feel, or whatever you like to do. I will just go with visualize. Just visualize the ward being put up when you, for example, moisturize your face, or put on your makeup, or put on, I don't know, your clothes. A jacket, for example, that you wear daily. Really, really good choice for a personal ward to attach to this jacket. If you wear it daily, perfect. Then you can maybe visualize yourself getting wrapped into this ward while putting on your jacket. By the way, yes, I know, putting your intention into things or charging things is easier said than done for beginners. I guess I will make a separate video on that soon, because I think it's just a very, very basic topic that everyone has to know. So I will not go very deeply into that in this video, also because everyone does it so drastically differently. So yeah. Another really nice thing you can do is make a magical oil with herbs that would correspond with protection, or crystals that correspond with protection, or sigils. Like, you could make a magical oil, and maybe if you use a carrier oil that works, and herbs and everything, you could even make it into a face oil and combine it with glamour magic. So you could make a magical oil with all the nice correspondences, put your intention into it, charge it to protect yourself, and then you can use it as a face oil or a body oil. In general, all these ideas can be combined very easily. So you can basically put 4 or 5 ideas into one and create your own protection spell with all these ideas combined. And just like you can attach a shield or a ward to a piece of clothing, you could also do the same with a necklace or a bracelet. You could create a talisman from a piece of jewelry. For example, if I have this Thor's hammer necklace, which would be perfect because Thor's hammers are in general associated with protection, I could just charge it with the intention of protection, like the very specific intention that I talked about, and create a talisman so that it puts up a ward or shield around me whenever I wear this necklace. That is something that a lot of people do. It is very popular, and it's also really fun, I think. And also, of course, you could do the same thing with anything else, like with any object. So for example, if you have a little keychain, for example, that would be a perfect thing to make into a talisman, because you probably have your keys with you at all times, so why not make a keychain as a protection spell? Or you could also do the same thing with your phone case, for example. I mean, your phone case, if you think about it, it protects your phone. So why not use it to create a personal ward for yourself? Another thing that I feel like has gained a lot of popularity recently is veiling. So you would take a scarf or a headband, something, or even a hat, something that you put on your head, and use that as a protection spell. For example, Chaotic Witch Aunt does that. I think they even have a whole separate video on veiling. So if you're interested in that, then check out their video. I will definitely put it in the video description. At least if I don't forget. I hope I won't forget. Editing Bente, make notes. Don't forget to put the video in the video description. And of course, you can also, again, combine veiling with other ideas that I have already told you about. So for example, you could combine veiling with a magical oil by just putting the magical oil on the veil before you put it on. Another thing that I really love to do is working with crystals. You know, I love crystals. Some protective crystals that you can use are, for example, black tourmaline. That's my go-to. It's just the protection stone in my opinion. But for example, you could also use smoky quartz. It's also really, really great. And yeah, again, you can combine it with a lot of different things. If you have maybe a necklace or some kind of jewelry piece that includes a protective crystal, there are a lot of protective crystals, just saying, then you can combine crystals with creating a jewelry piece as a talisman, for example. Or you could also use a crystal and put some protection oil on it. At least if you can do that with the specific type of crystal. Not every crystal can be combined with oils or water, so make sure you do your research on the crystal first. But if it works with the crystal, then you could also do that, for example. Another thing that I guess a lot of people have already heard about are spell bags. You can create a cute little protection spell by gathering some protective herbs or protective crystals or whatever you like to use. You could also use things like thorns or snail shells, whatever you feel like is associated with protection. Put it all in a little bag, put your intention into it, really, really important. Probably cleanse the bag first, because you don't know what kind of energy is in that bag, and you don't want to kind of disrupt your protective energy with the energy that's in the bag. So cleanse everything first, put your intention into it, stuff everything in the bag, close it, and then you can either just carry it with you. You could also put it on your keychain maybe if you want to, put it in your jacket's pockets, for example, or you can even sew it in your clothes. Another one of my personal favorites, sigils and bind runes. That's of course another topic that I will make a separate video on, because it's a big topic. I don't really want to get too deeply into that in this video. But creating sigils and bind runes is also a great way of casting protection spells, because it's easily combined with basically any of the other ideas, because you can charge your magical oil with a sigil. You could charge a crystal with a sigil. You could sew a sigil into a veil. You could sew a sigil or a bind rune into your clothing. You name it. You can do so much with sigils and bind runes. That's why I personally love them so much. And what you do basically with sigils or bind runes is that you create a symbol for yourself that you personally associate with your intention. And you can do that in various different ways. You could do that by writing down your intention and then using the letters. You could, for a bind rune, for example, do the same thing, write down your intention, then kind of translate it into runes, and then use these runes to create a symbol. You can also use planetary symbols, elemental symbols, whatever really. The basic gist is you create a symbol for your intention and then you charge it and you use it. There's a lot you can do with sigils, so I will definitely make a separate video on sigils and one on bind runes. Yeah, I will definitely make two. Yeah, and as I said, very easily combined with a lot of other ideas, so definitely one of my personal favorites. And the last thing, of course, color magic. I could have already stated that with the other correspondences previously, but well, yeah, color magic. You can also combine color magic with all the other ideas. So for example, I personally like to use the color black for protection, but just see what you associate, like which color you associate with protection, and then use that color for your spells. So for example, you could wear clothes in this specific color, you could use a bag for your spell bag in that specific color, you could use a crystal in that specific color, whatever. That's also something really small that can be easily combined with a lot of other ideas. And that's all that I have for personal protection. Now let's get into protecting your home. A lot of the ideas that I have given you for personal protection will also come for home protection, because a lot of these ideas are so versatile that you can use them for either personal or home protection. So for example, of course, color magic you can also use in your home. Duh. The first idea is, for example, to create a protection candle. You can work again with herbs or crystals or colors that you personally associate with protection, and then again set up the candle, charge it with your specific intention, and then light it regularly for protection. That's something that a lot of people do. I personally have never tried it out, but I will definitely, because I love the idea. I think it's pretty important though that you light it then really regularly, because it will emit the protective energy whenever you burn it, but if you don't burn it, it won't do anything. So burning it regularly will be very important with that one. Another really easy idea is hanging protective herbs around your home. So for example, one thing that you could do is to hang a bundle of juniper needles by your door. That is really easy, at least as long as you can get hold of some protective herbs, but there are so many herbs that have protective qualities that it will probably be very easy to get hold of some. So yeah, just hang them around your home. Basic, easy. One thing that I already mentioned for the personal protection are sigils and bind runes. Of course, you can use sigils and bind runes also around your home. That is, for example, something that I really love to do. I just use a pencil and draw the sigil or the bind rune that I have created on my walls. I personally like doing that near windows and doors. Another idea, and I just realized you could also do that for personal protection, is using knot magic. So creating something, like maybe using a piece of string and tying knots into it and putting your intention into these knots. You could combine that with a lot of cool things. So for example, you could combine that with embroidery and create an embroidery piece with knot magic by putting your intention into the tiny little knots that you make. Or you could maybe combine that with a macrame, perfect for hanging around your home. And you can then also combine it with sigils by maybe embroidering a sigil, for example. You could combine that with color magic. You can combine it with magical oils, with a lot of stuff. Also something that I haven't tried yet, but I really want to do it. Another really easy thing to do is using salt water, maybe even with your moon water, or maybe potions that you have made, or a magical oil. Although magical oil will probably stain a lot, so maybe an oil is not the best choice. But using salt water or a potion or an oil or whatever to draw banishing earth pentacles, either on the walls or on the windows. On the windows, I guess, is the best idea, because if you use water, just salt water for example, it won't stain anything. If you put, for example, a potion on your walls, it can probably stain your walls, so be aware of that. But yeah, you can use, for example, salt water, draw a banishing earth pentacle on windows or doors, and that will also create a protective barrier around your home. But what the heck is a banishing earth pentacle? You probably know what a pentagram looks like. Like this, a star, a pentagram. You can draw it in a lot of different ways. You can start on the bottom here, you can start on the bottom here, you can start on the top here, wherever. Depending on the corner that you start drawing the pentagram, it will create a kind of portal for one specific kind of energy. So the corners of the pentagram, they correspond with different elemental energies, and depending on how you draw the pentagram, it will create a portal for that energy. So you can call something in, or you could banner something depending on how you draw the pentagram. I would suggest you quickly Google it because it's a very, very basic concept that you can easily Google. It would be a little bit long to go deeply into that in this video, so I will try to put a link in the video description where it is explained. But yeah, it's very, very easy, very, very quickly done. Then of course, spell bags and also spell bottles can perfectly be used in your home. So you can, instead of carrying the spell bag with you, you can hang it in your home or create a spell bottle and just place it somewhere in your home. Something else that I would really love to try is working with plant spirits. So if you are like me and you have a lot of house plants, then you could work with the spirits of these plants. Of course, that would depend on if you're an animist. Me as an animist, I believe that plants have a consciousness, that plants have a spirit and an energy that I can personally work with and create a relationship with. So you could try to interact with your plant, create a relationship, and then maybe ask them if they would be willing to help you protect your home. And of course, you can also just use a visualization to put up a ward around your home, your room, your apartment, whatever. I personally believe it's a little bit more complicated or more hard to do than creating only a personal ward because it's just a lot bigger. There's a lot more space that you have to kind of wrap into the ward than just putting up a ward around yourself. So maybe not as beginner friendly as just creating a personal ward, but you can also do that. And of course, you can also ask other spirits than only plant spirits to help with protecting your home. Of course, you can also do that with yourself, but one idea that I had that I find really cool and interesting is asking your house spirit to help with the protection of your home. I mean, it's the house spirit, so I guess they would also be interested in protecting this home. But I have not tried that myself. If you have, tell me about it in the comments because I think that's a really interesting idea. If you have a whole property, not only a house, but also property around your home and a nice garden, then something really easy that you could do is plant protective plants on your property. So just find out maybe what kinds of protective plants are native in your area and then plant them around your house. So maybe if I would do that around here, I don't have a house, I only have an apartment, so I can't do that. But for example, I would probably, what would I plant? I would probably plant stinging nettles, for example, on my property. And yeah, of course, you can also use crystals in your home. That's something that I really love to do, just placing black tourmaline crystals around your home, especially near windows and doors. Very easy. I personally love doing that. And the last idea that I have for you today is hanging bells on your front door so that whenever someone enters through the front door, the bells are ringing and kind of cleansing the person whenever they enter your house. That won't create a ward specifically, but of course, when visitors enter your home and they bring in kind of murky, negative energies, maybe even have a spirit attached to them that you don't want in your house, if they are cleansed as soon as they enter, they can't bring anything negative in. So, of course, that's also something that you could do. And those are all the ideas that I have for you today. But I also asked my Instagram followers what kinds of protection magic they like to use because I find it really interesting. Also, if you're not one of my Instagram followers, first go follow me on Instagram. And also tell me in the comments what kinds of protection magic you like to use because maybe there are some ideas that I don't know about yet and that I want to try out. But I will put up some of the ideas around me here and get through them really quickly. Protection candle, classic. Sigils, yes, love using them. Crystals and runes, yes. Of course, you can also use just runes. You don't have to create bind runes. You can just use normal runes by themselves for protection. Wards that include automatic return to sender. Yes, really, really handy if you want that. Witch bottles and a huge black candle to be lit daily. Yes, perfect. In general, spell bottles and spell jars were really, really popular. A lot of people love doing those. For when I'm in public, don't have time, I whisper Keim? I have no idea how to pronounce that. A Celtic circle of protection to myself. That's really interesting. I will Google that. Sigils, witch's ball, black salt, energy wards. Black salt is also great for protection. Charged crystals and amulets. Yes, perfect. Making salt dough, using it to make sigils to hang or as offerings. That's a really cool idea, to use salt dough to just create physical sigils. Amulets, peacock feathers. That's something that I haven't heard of. Peacock feathers for protection. And eggshells or seashells. Yes, perfect. By the way, I have a video where I make a protection spell with an egg. It's basically a spell jar, but using an egg. If you want to check that out, I will link it, of course. I personally do shielding and have sigil and runes around, but also cast a protection spell every few weeks. Charms and spell bags or spell jars, enchanting jewelry, plants, charmed jewelry and heirlooms, wards, amulets, hagstones. I wear them as necklaces and keep them in my pockets. Hagstones are also great. They are stones that have natural holes in them, so whenever you go on a walk, or specifically go to the beach, because you will find a lot of hagstones at the beach. If you find a stone that has a natural hole in it, it has protective qualities. So definitely use that, take it with you, maybe put it on a necklace or something. Great. Yeah, amulets, physical wards and jewelry. Really, really nice. I think I will do that for more videos. I think it's really cool to just incorporate what the community likes to do, so that you don't only get my ideas, but also other people's ideas, because as you see, I don't always have all the ideas. There's also something that I am not aware of or that I miss. So, that being said, that is everything that I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and for all the beginners, I really hope that it helped you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and maybe follow me on Instagram or check out my online shop. I have a lot of protective crystals there, and also protective herbs, and also protection candles and a lot of stuff. Or maybe even consider becoming my patron. Who knows? And I will see you in the next video. Bye!